to speak the truth frankly and boldly.
What do you think is coming for people who do economic development work after this crisis is resolved, after we have a vaccine, after, we have whatever our new normal is?
So some odd and very unintuitive things happen during recession. All the economists are saying we're going to have a recession if we're not already in a recession, just that the data isn't there to yet show it. The issue of creating jobs or jobs in general is going to be very, very difficult. And I think a big trend is going to be automation. Why is this going to happen? Because it's a little bit counterintuitive, because you would think, okay, there's very high unemployment, so there's going to be, it'll decrease wages, right? So why would you go to automation if the cost of labor is now cheaper, right? That's intuitive. But what actually happens is that for the businesses, their revenue goes down so quickly that the relative cost of labor, right? Because they used to have this much, so it was a smaller portion. But if it decreases, the relative cost of labor is now much higher. So what does that mean? That means actually in economic bad times, businesses are going to double down. They're going to really focus in on automation. So, and the data shows this from the last 3 recessions. And so it's not the first thing that you think will happen, but every time that we've come out of recession, there's been a big focus on automation, whether it's software or robots or whatever that situation is. And who gets hurt by this, who the people are who lose the jobs is very clear. It is the most marginal groups. It is the people whose jobs are most easily automated. And so these are some of the people who have lower incomes, less education levels. But for people who think that they're going to be able to save their job or their industry is going to be protected because they have a college degree, that's not the case. This, I think, it's just becoming wider and wider in terms of who are impacted. So for economic developers or investment promotion agencies who are measured on this metric of job creation, they're also going to be in a very difficult position, because how do you create jobs in a situation where automation is so powerful? Kind of related to that issue is this issue of there's this decoupling of GDP from jobs. Like GDP keeps going up, right? But the jobs aren't necessarily, like, you can just get so much more productivity, either out of a person or a person that's aided by software or robot or whatever the case is. So those things are, you can have an economic recovery, and I will kind of say that as loosely, because again, the question is recovery for who, right? Yeah. You can have increase of productivity without the increase of people. If you actually drill down into the data, you look and you go, gosh, there's all these metros that over the last few years or last couple of decades have had so much economic growth. But then you look at, well, what was the actual impact of all of this growth on median wages or average wages? And there hasn't been an increase. In fact, some of the most economically robust places in terms of output, economic output, incomes have gone down.
Yes.
So I think that these trends are going to accelerate in ways that we as economic developers have to be prepared for.
How would one prepare for that? I mean, that's a profound change. Do you have a sense of what being prepared for that looks like, possibly, at this point? And I know we're getting into, sort of crystal ball land here.
Yeah. So I'll just give 3 quick answers. All of these actually I wrote a piece for FDI Intelligence magazine somewhat recently about this. And the short version is this. 1, there needs to be transitioning of work and people need to be reskilled. So that's the first thing. The second is that regions, economic regions, cities, whatever the areas that you serve as an economic developer, they need to be on the winning side of the tech transition. And, and the question is, can everybody be a winner? Because what happens is if you are not a region that is innovative and has tech behind it, you're a region that's going to be left behind. You are going to be the have-nots of the future economy. And that's challenging, especially challenging for rural communities. If you're a rural community and you don't have access to broadband, it's not a good future. So, and then the third thing is that the entire physical structure of what our landscape looks like today was not based on a world of increased automation. So think about the drive-through that you go to, where you go to get your oil change, getting gas at all. I'm just talking about car things, right? Because cars are getting automated. The driverless car, what is the impact on that? Well, do I need a Lyft driver or an Uber driver if the car drives itself anyways? These all have significant impacts. Mm-hmm. So city planners and economic developers have to get together because the physical landscape itself has to change.
Nor need we shrink from honestly facing conditions in our country today